and
I mean,
no one can be
I feel like
trusted.
I have generalized in that sense when talking about journalists from outside the U.S.
Sure. I think we've all been.
Even though some of the finest and purest examples of writing about games are going on in the UK.
That is true.
So
that is true.
Goes both ways.
The guy who just did that Silicon Knights expose on X-Men Destiny, he's from Australia. He did the LA Noire one too.
Oh, right.
Like that guy is
that was
back to back. Excellent work.
That was an excellent story.
There are dirtbags around the world, and there are perfectly capable, honest, competent, professional people all over the place too. And I imagine that there are probably people in both categories sitting side by side at many businesses as well.
And there are bad decisions that just get made.
Certainly.
And sometimes that shit just snowballs out of your control, and there was never malcontent there, or I'm sorry, malicious intent, and like
you can be naive.
And suddenly you're sitting in front of a Master Chief cutout with a bag of Doritos, wondering how the fuck you got here, and all you want to do.
Or you're locking down your Twitter account and going like, Jesus Christ, what did I do?
Yeah, and well, I feel more for Jeff, where I'm like, I'm sure somebody ushered him into a room. He probably had almost like 5 minutes briefing of like, what the fuck am I doing today? Like, I have a million other things to do. Sat down, camera goes, and then 20 minutes later is a JPEG of you.
That raises another concern we talked about on the Octobercast, which has been brought about by people like you.
Yeah.
Of in the era of everything HD video. Yeah. Like every frame of every video is now a potential damning photograph.
There, I'll go back to SD.
It's just
360.
I feel like you can pull a still of anybody when they're mid blink and make them look like shit.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily the story that's actually being told by that scenario.
I just mean more
it's
of
a pretty funny photo.
Yeah.
It is. You're right. Well, I mean, whatever. What is unsettling about that photo has nothing to do with his facial expression, or little to do with it.
Yeah,
it's more about his environment. But you get what I'm saying.
But I've seen how that stuff happens, and like whatever. We had Players Ball and fucking Game. And all
there was
stuff.
all this brought to you by Stride shit, and
like that shit just fucking happens, and like. I haven't talked to Keeley about it, but like, I don't know if he was psyched to be there and be like, yeah, fuck a Mountain Dew and just Doritos.
It's like, real good. So it's just funny that like, especially like in the mid 2000s, there was this, the chase for non-endemic advertising.
Right.
Like at one point, the holy grail was getting Doritos and Mountain Dew to allow us to move away from game publishers being the main ad revenue source.
Right.
And now that it has happened, it's like, oh, this is so gross.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of non-endemic, but it is endemic because
there was a little while on the spot where they made Rich hold that Wendy's cup,
right? And Frank was doing
fucking hated it.
The VO,
he hated it so much.
Yeah, exactly. We set it up to where Frank, behind the scenes guy, was doing all of the
and now look
advertising
what happened to Frank.
Yeah, now
should
look what
retired on
Frank.
Wendy's.
See what happens when the beast gets a hold of you.
But fucking man, if I could replace our couch with a couch made of Whoppers and like just sit on that,
we could do
the
that.
couch would only last like 2 days, and
we could do that.
How can I sit on that? Isn't it just going to squish?
You would eat
mouth
the couch
first.
I don't know.
Sit on it mouth first.
Let's call Burger King and find out.
To Keeley,
if you want to make a couch out of Whoppers, we can make a couch out of Whoppers.
Potentially, to Keeley's credit, somebody dug up a tweet of his from last fall, where he just tweeted a photo of him holding a bottle of Mountain Dew, and he was just like fueling up on some dew as I go in for Skyrim or something like that. And like it seemed like maybe a little self-aware. I'm not sure.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
Hard to say. He hasn't addressed it one way or the other.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Although, I mean,
smart of him. Nothing to be gained.
Yeah. Did his
again,
agent pull him into this?
Again,
you wonder.
Either way, like his motivations are pretty clear in that situation, right? Like he's getting paid for it.
Yeah.
So
I would hope so.
You're not he's not going to turn around next week or later this week and deliver a Halo 4 score is what I'm saying. Like you don't necessarily have to worry about what's coming out of his mouth because you know what his motivations are and why he's doing it.
He is playing the role of host there. Like even if they're pitching him as games expert, he is a television presenter.
And he's the type of guy between these Final Hour stories and the TV show is primarily, they're going out there and visiting developers and working with developers to tell their story. He does his interviews here and there. It's like the Reggie interview is kind of the one thing you go like, oh.
Well, game shows is mostly it's like exclusives.
Yeah. So they're out there negotiating these exclusives, these things you won't find anywhere else. But it's primarily, it's like, here's this thing that the publisher has, we've worked with them and they're going to show it here before they show it anywhere else.
That's how exclusives work.
That's how exclusives work.
Yeah.
So this is, it's like, the Final Hours thing is an exclusive in that sense as well. I mean, he's spending a lot more time on site and kind of digging into this stuff a little deeper than you get to on a, half hour or hour television show.
It just feels less gross because it's it's A, there's more work involved, and then B, it's not like, hey, here's a new weapon.
Right.
It's like it's actually telling a story.
Yeah.
About these people and as they.
And I don't begrudge him for doing that at all. I think he's the best in the world at doing that. Yeah. And if that's what you are looking for, if you're looking for, the world exclusive on this and some trailers on this and that sort of stuff, like Keeley's your man.
Yeah.
He's got that stuff locked down. The stuff that he doesn't get, Andy McNamara over Game Informer. They've got it on their cover.
Yeah, that's it.
That is how exclusives work.
It's a two-way fight, and that's
unless you want a new weapon.
Yeah. Right, yeah. If we want to get
that's for
trailers
everybody
for new
else.
weapons, yeah. If you want the food of San Andreas,
But it's so that shit happens, right? So it's like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. I guess that's the part at a certain point.
Every other exclusive that doesn't happen on Game Informer or with
Game Informer, Game Trailers, USA Today.
Or you go even more mainstream than that, than even Game Trailers and Game Informer recently.
Yeah.
Game Trailers
Wired.
is the TV show, not the website. Everything below that's typically a bum fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, who's going to duke it out to get this trailer for 8 hours before it gets sent out to every other website? By the way, trailers are just ads. What the fuck are we doing?
You mentioned
it's crazy.
You mentioned the food of San Andreas, and that just reminds me that the reason that we might sound a little weary about some of this stuff is that this merry-go-round's been going on for a long fucking time.
We are old. My beard is like half gray at this point. Like we have been around and seen this shit for too long.
The cool part about what we're doing now, we're fucking free of that shit.
So I was just about to say the thing when I first came on to GameSpot years and years ago, the thing that made me think like you guys were doing it right and like fighting the good fight was no exclusive reviews. Like that was permanent line in the sand was that is fucking shady. We're never going to do that and we never will.
And there's a dude at IGN, because they do exclusive reviews. There's a dude who was kind of like, our counterpart over there who was convinced that we were actually doing them and just lying about not doing them. Anytime we would have a review up for them, I would hear from a PR person that'd be like, yeah, he's convinced that we gave this to you exclusively. Like, no, I'm just fucking faster than he is. So not a big deal.
I don't want it to sound like I hope this doesn't come off as arrogant or something, but I feel like something we've been able to do with this site is that we have maintained that freedom from that grind by, I hate to say this, but like it's almost like everything we do is sort of exclusive in a way, right?
Right.
Like we kind of just had to, largely by necessity, had to find something we could do a little bit different to try to stand out because we were never going to compete on that fight with bigger sites when we started 4 years ago.
So we want the approach to be different, and we're putting ourselves in there. No one can, we don't need to watermark our videos. You know where the fuck that came from.
Oh, too true.
Watermarks. Fuck watermarks.
Guys,
totally, right?
Yeah, every time I go on,
Don't steal my screenshots.
especially when they're ones that the companies put out.
The company put out these screenshots, and we got them for 4 hours, but then everyone else is going to get them. Like, come on.
Yeah, just crop that shit out anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Photoshop will take that shit out.
Yeah. Also, screenshots.
Yeah, also screenshots.
Exclusive screenshots.
I'll tell you, though, sometimes I wish we had a force of interns that was taking screenshots all day, though, because I was putting up the Need for Speed review today, and they were all these super clean.
That actually bums me out a lot in reviews that we end up putting out what, they're commonly called bullshots.
Yeah.
And most of our reviews end up having those things because, like, we don't have time to sit there frame grabbing out of video because there are 6 of us.
In the
running
GameSpot days, we had a mouse
website.
with no ball on it that sat on the floor, and you would hit it with your foot to take screenshots as you played on the capture gear, and you were also recording video that you then passed off to the video guys.
Yeah.
And onto a tape.
And then it went into Dababilizer, which apparently that's still how they process screenshots over there. We got a
good old days.
Screenshot robot.
Yeah,
good old days. Still a day.
I know. Yeah. Screenshot robot still exists.